This Franklin Roosevelt speech, this is just remarkable. It was, his State of the Union address in 1938. And he said, unhappy events abroad have retaught us two simple truths about the liberty of a democratic people. The first truth is that the liberty of a democracy is not safe. Now, keep in mind, this is 1938. This is what, 6 years after, or 5 years, I guess, after Hitler came to power. The first truth is that the liberty of a democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to the point where it becomes stronger than their democratic state itself. That, in its essence, is fascism. Ownership of government by an individual, by a group, or by any other controlling private power. That is the second sentence of the President's State of the Union address in 1938. Can you imagine a president today giving a State of the Union address that starts out that way? He continues, he says, the second truth is that the liberty of a democracy is not safe if its business system does not provide employment and produce and distribute goods in such a way as to sustain an acceptable standard of living. In other words, living wage. Both lessons, FDR said, hit home. Among us today, now this was 1938, this was, 5 years into the New Deal. He was making really substantial progress. But what he was left over with was the Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover administrations, which were essentially, they did the same thing Reagan did, cut taxes, deregulate, all that kind of stuff. And it produced, a little mini Gilded Age. We refer to it as the Roaring '20s. So back to FDR's, address to Congress. He says, among us today, a concentration of private power without equal in history is growing. This concentration is seriously impairing the economic effectiveness of private enterprise as a way of providing employment for labor and capital, and as a way of assuring a more equitable distribution of income and earnings among the people of the nation as a whole. In other words, this concentration of private power is a threat to business itself as well. He says, we believe in a way of living in which political democracy and free private enterprise for profit should serve and protect each other to ensure a maximum of human liberty, not for a few, but for all. It has been well said that the freest government, if it could exist, would not be long acceptable if the tendency of the laws were to create a rapid accumulation of property in few hands and to render the great mass of the population dependent and penniless. Today, many Americans ask the uneasy question, FDR told Congress. Is the vociferation that our liberties are in danger justified by the facts? And then he goes through and he lays out the facts. He says, today's answer on the part of average men and women in every part of the country is far more accurate than it would have been in 1929. Their answer is that if there is a danger, it comes from that concentrated private economic power, which is struggling so hard to master our democratic government.